Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
What's up with your family? It's your boy, the one and only Brenda's baby, Remy El Ma'at. You are now tuned in to Ma'at TV. Most of y'all already know the routine, but if you don't, remember to hit that like button as you come in. But most importantly, share this video because it's all about the message, right? If you're new to the channel, this is your first time stopping by, rocking with your boy, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, but do yourself a favor and hit that notification bell and make sure it's on all so you can be alerted and notified whenever I drop this heat. Alright, family, the moment has arrived. I want to hear what this bodyguard had to say. Let me type it in again. There we go.
To make sure Bambaataa would have been safe, I even said that I would come to him. Shit, we would rent a hotel where we could go sit down, you know, where it's just going to be exclusive with us. You know, we could rent a hotel, bring some of your people.
This is Sinetta talking. It's not no bodyguard.
I have a couple of people with me, and we sit down as witnesses, you know, that can witness the interview, you know, and that it went down. So that way, you know, even bring your film crew where they could film it. So you don't feel that nobody's going to cut out what you say. So you could also film the joint. See, you can't do that with Lisa Evans.
The bodyguard is the one that's on the phone. Sinetta is the one that's talking, but the bodyguard is on the phone. You can tell from Sinetta's accent.
Listen, no. The white man ain't going to allow you to film in their business. They're going to be the one filming. You see, but with us, you can film your own joint with us. That makes sure when we throw it up that we're not cutting nothing out, we're not adding nothing to it because you got the files yourself.
Okay, well, first off, my brother Sinetta, I wanna thank you for giving me this second interview. And yes, this is Lord Sharif, the former bodyguard of Africa Bambaataa, one of the former heads of Shaka Zulu Security. And again, I wanna big up you, brother, for your outstanding work in the community. And I definitely appreciate this second interview.
Okay, thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. First things, man, because there's a lot of unfinished business. You was really rushing through the first interview you did with our brother Star, and
absolutely.
I want to give you this opportunity to take your time and tell your story, because Bambaataa was on the air tonight on Fox News tonight, and he is still denying all the allegations that have been brought forth as far as him being a molester, as far as him, you know, being a homosexual. He is denying all the claims, brother. What would you like to share with us with your reign with Africa Bambaataa? You've been with Bambaataa for like how many years? 10 years?
Really more than 10 years. That's really more than 10 years. It goes back as far as, I go back with Bam as far as the Black Spades, 74, 75, like I pointed out to start. But let me say this before I go into that. Like you said, you know, that interview with Star, I told Star in the beginning of that interview, if anybody remembers that I'm all over the place, that's what I told Star, meaning that I was very emotional, I was very angry, very frustrated, and impulsive. And I can't even say that people twisted my words or misinterpreted my words because that interview was sloppy. I was reckless. I can be reckless at times.
Right.
So I've gathered my thoughts. You know, I'm reserved. I'm collected. And the man you spoke earlier in the week, I told you, I'm going to let that video stand on, the interview stand on its own. But I caught a little backlash from my family, particularly my spouse drove the point home, you know, and to the point where I seen that interview, it incriminated me. Like I said, I can't even say, you know, people are twisting my words or people are misinterpreting my words. It was sloppy and it was reckless. And that's why, you know, I gave it some thought in between the time that me and you last spoke and said, well, let me, I gotta bring clarity to this. I gotta, clarify it. I gotta correct it, you know, because I don't want anybody out there thinking that, I knew about the pedophilia with him. No, that was news to me when Poppy and Ron Savage came out. But I joined Zulu Nation, okay, when I was in the 18th division of the Black State, coming from the west side of the Bronx to the east side of the Bronx River, Tremont Avenue, Lambert, West Arms, Bronx River, 1974. And that's when I met Bam. What I want the people to understand, my people from New York City, Bronx and Harlem, you know, the 5 boroughs, is that you got people on the outside looking in. But for those of us that have been a part of the Zulu Nation, I'm talking about from our teenage years. I was 14 when I joined the Zulu Nation. And like I told Star, I was with original Gestapo members that went to junior high school with me. Ahmed was one of those people. And that's why I met Bam at that high school before I even started meeting brothers from Bronx River, even though the brothers I was going to junior high school with was from Bronx River. Okay? And that's when Bam started the Bronx River organization. And it became the Bronx organization. About 75, 76, it was the Universal Zulu Nation. I consider myself a co-founder because I started one of the first original chapters.
So he said he known Bam since 70-something. And he said the pedophilia was news to him when Bee Stinger and Poppy come up. So basically, his bodyguard has never seen Bee Stinger or Bam or Hassan around Bambaataa.
Was in Parkchester, Northeast Bronx, in 1977, and went on to combine that crew with Africa Islam's Mayberry crew that was over the bridge of the White Plains Road. You know, Africa Islam, he's one of the original sons of Africa Bambaataa. But in 1989, when Bam came back from Europe, we did the council. We started Shaka Zulu. We put my brother Dio as the head of security, and we began to take off. And that's when I met B. Stinger. I met B. Stinger at Dazzy Day's Strong City Records.
He met B. Stinger
On Allenton Avenue in the Bronx. And that's where everybody used to come. You know, but the allegations of him being a homosexual goes back to when I went to junior high school.
So the bodyguard said that he saw B. That's another person that said they saw B. Stinger and doesn't mention Hassan. So why is all these people seeing B. Stinger, but nobody ever saw Hassan?
When the IF-167, with those original Gestapo crew members, you know, the original Zulu Nation members, ex-Black Spades, I mean, brothers from all over the Bronx. I mean, you know, the Spades was with Casanova, they was ex-Spades down with the 9 crew when the gangs turned into crews. They were crews before they even turned into the Zulu Nation, you know, and most of the projects in the Northeast Bronx got down with the Zulu Nation, Lambert houses, Castle Hill, Soundview, Monroe. Bam was an enigma back then. And, you know, Poppy, you know, my brother Poppy, you know, he has mixed emotions because we love Bam. I mean, we love the Bam because Bam, you know, I mean, Bam is he was an enigma back then. I can't say he's not an enigma now because the mystery is solved. But he was an enigma back then. I mean, what he did was, you know, it was unprecedented to bring people together, young brothers, you know, together, you know, ex-gang members, ex-crew members, into this one gigantic family that spread from the Bronx to around the world. So we heard the allegations after I went to junior high school for about a year, IS-167, you know, I heard the allegations. Everybody heard the allegations, whether it was Lambert houses, whether it was Bronx River. Well, Bronx River definitely knew about it. you know, and we question why them older brothers, and we can build on that later. That was in Gestapo. That was black stage that he tried and that his ass whipped a couple of times. Why did they allow this brother to go on to organize knowing that he was homosexual? That's the $100,000 question. But when you got people out in the street doing their own things.
See, the only thing you hear about Bam is he's homosexual. Dude said he met Beastie with Bam. He mentioned Hassan, but he didn't say he saw him with Bam. He doesn't say how he met Hassan. He probably know Hassan because he came out and was a part of the security in his 30s. But the only thing you hear is Bam's gay. Nobody said anything about pedophilia.
But like I said, we heard this rumors. I was young. A lot of us was young, you know, at that time. Me and Bam, you know, 14, 15, 16, and we grew up in this thing, you know, and we loved him. And, you know, when you love somebody, you hear your son is a dope fiend or this about a family member, you don't want to accept it, you know. You deny it. You don't want to hear about it. And Bam came back from Europe, you know, and we started Shaka Zulu. I was Bill's first lieutenant, and we built Shaka Zulu the same way Muhammad took Zulu warriors to the next level. And I did a lot of things with Bam. I
thought Hassan was Bill's first lieutenant. See, I was raised by Bam, and I was raised by B.O. Why ain't this guy saying it? This was his bodyguard.
Islamic tip. We would go places like Ansar Law Community, Dr. York. Me and Bam, we studied a lot together. You know, so this is personal for members of the Zulu Nation because Bam is very knowledgeable. He's always presented himself, you know, that as a very knowledgeable individual. He did take his shahada. I was with him. Tafiq was with him. He took it at the Ansar Law Hall of Knowledge in Brooklyn because we used to go out to York Studios when he did Planet Rock. He did it in your Heart Studios in New York. We used to go out there when we used to build at York. You know, we used to go to Minister Farrakhan's, all of his, you know, events and lectures. We had closely ties with the Nation of Islam. We had close ties with Dr. York. You know, the same thing that you doing in Harlem today, we've been doing in Harlem with the different groups back in the 90s, back in the late 80s, when Khalid was minister of Mosque Number 7. You know, we would deal with Khalid. The Shaka Zulu was trained by after a while. We worked close with the captains and lieutenants under Khalid. We would get a close relationship with Khalid. You know, may he rest in paradise. But I'm saying all this to say to give you and the audience, the listening audience, the personal relationship that I had with him and the young boys. And what I failed to mention in the first interview is when the young boys that I saw, because Bam always had young boys around him, which I could say probably in our hearts and our minds, even though that them rumors was in the back of our mind from the mid 70s and on, 75, 76, 77, that these are Zulu Nation members. These are his soldiers. When I say young boys, what I failed to clarify, when I say young boys, I didn't mean minors. And let me say this, I'm in no way recanting my story.
Yeah.
So bodyguard saying that he had young boys around him, but they weren't minors.
Message.
Meaning 17, 18, early 20s, which is the wax dog. You can agree with me on this one, which is the age. If you put that pin down the timeline of the proof, not what Hassan says, just the evidence. 17, 18 when he got around him. And then when you think about the first age that he gave out was 16, 17. I think he put 16 in there to sound underage, to be underage. But this guy is Bam's bodyguard. He's saying he had young boys around him, but none of them was underage. And it's the same theory that Trip C said, "You like them young, but they be like them barely legal. They're legal, but they're barely legal." If you add up all this evidence, Hassan was fucking this man as an adult.
Message!
AP, what's up with you? And this is the new development. I haven't seen nobody cover this story. Wax Dog, chop this up and put this on your channel. You got my full permission. This is proof right here that nobody ever seen Hassan around him as an adolescent. And he was fucking him as an adult.
Oh, no, he didn't. Miss Peaches?
Ain't no way around it. You got the bodyguard saying, "You let Bam go glucamus in your ducamus as a full-grown adult." He said, never heard this story. Nope, I never hear this one either. I'm glad I clicked on
I'm
it.
glad you said that because I was about to ask you that.
No, I'm in no way recanting
I'm
my
about to
story.
find more.
But what I failed to mention in the first interview is that I'm going on. I believe in Poppy and Ron Savage, because when they came out with their stories, that was news to me about the pedophilia. Okay.
When they came out with their story, that was news to me. Meaning, he didn't see. Well, Bam was going to Bee Stinger house. Hassan said that he was going to Bam house, which it makes sense that he didn't see Bee Stinger, him doing anything with Bee Stinger, because he was going to Bee Stinger house. But Hassan was going to Bam house, where Hassan said that everybody was. So, meaning he would be there. Oh, when it all falls down now. I'm telling you, it all falls down. When it all, it is all, the pieces are coming together like a jigsaw. It makes sense that he wouldn't have known about Bee Stinger, because Bam was going over to Bee Stinger's house. But what doesn't make sense is Hassan was going to Bam's house, and this nigga never saw him, and that's his bodyguard, head of security.
Message!
BO's first lieutenant, and he never saw him. That was news to him. Meaning, that nigga was lying.
My thing was the homosexual thing. So that was news to me. And by me not mentioning that, it made me look incriminated. So that's why, I said, when we last spoke, I'll let that stand on its own. But my spouse driving home and me listening to it over and over, I said, damn, the dude sounded like, I knew about it. So, no, I can't allow that. So, again, I thank you for giving me the second interview, because I had to clear that up. When the young boys that were being in his apartment in Palchester, these were young boys. They wasn't minors. And I did state late teens, meaning 18 to 21. That's young boys to me.
Late 18 to 21.
It didn't make no sense to me.
See, he said the boys that was around Bambaataa was late 18s to 21.
Message!
Now, Hassan claims that he has a bunch of underage young boys around him at all times. But his bodyguard is saying, no, they're all 18 to 21.
This boy's a motherfucking dummy!
Everybody else saying, no, they were 18 to 21. Hassan is the only one saying that he was underage. And nobody seen him.
This boy's a motherfucking dummy!
But he was at all these public parties And all these so-called orgies. This is how I know that Hassan was lying, right? When he said that he will open Bam's door, niggas' hands is greasy, they giving him that. First of all, what grown man is coming out of the house from having sex, or whatever they was doing, and giving that to a 12-year-old? Like, none of them said, what you doing here? You just giving him that, hands all greasy. No, that was a grown man knocking at that door. That's why they were giving you that. That's why they never questioned why you were there. You notice that when Hassan tells these stories, none of the people question why he's there. They all just give him that. Does that sound like a 12-year-old? Or it sound like a grown man? Put it in the chat. Does that sound like a 12-year-old or a grown man? He's showing up to the parties and the orgies or whatever, and they giving him that as he come in, and nobody asks him why he's there.
Don't worry, I'll wait.
Don't worry, I'll wait. Now, one person asked why he was there. That sounds like a grown ass man. I've never given that to a 12-year-old. Not like serious dap, like, yo, what's up, man? What's up? How you doing? I mean, give me 5, youngin. What's up, youngin? Give me 5. Like that, I ain't walking up to niggas. What's up, youngin? How you doing, man? How you doing, blood? How you doing, blood? You alright, youngin? You alright? You hanging in there? You alright? Bring it in. Bring it in. Get the fuck out of here. He said it's all been debunked. Hassan is messing with Bam way after he was in his 20s. Shit. Yep. I say from 18 to 30 something. Those years, 18 to 30 something. 18 all the way up until he was on that meeting with Sinetta. And the thing about it is, the only reason why he did that was because Bam cut him off. Wait, first because he had some dogs. Z Banger explained this. He had some dogs that he was selling for Bam. He fucked the money up. Bam came and took the dogs and said, you know what, I'm done. I got me another young tenderoni. I don't want you no more. You're old, saggy, and flabby. I'm not supporting you no more. And what Hassan did, oh, you're not going to support me? I'm going to go tell everybody you molested me. And you molested everybody else. And then, look, he said, Bam apologized and was supposed to put a gravestone on B.O. grave. But he didn't. No, that wasn't the promise. His promise was he was going to keep supporting you, but he never did. So you put the video back up. Because if you really cared about B.O.'s gravestone, all the money that you had made on YouTube, you never went and put no gravestone on there yourself. You had money. And at one time, did you go put a gravestone on there? So you didn't really care about B.O.'s gravestone. It was all about Bam supporting it. And when Bam refused to keep supporting him, he went to the internet.
Then, because you never saw him with a woman, you know, you got the room in the back of your head that this is you know, stuff that's been going on that you've been hearing about, the gay thing about him since the 70s. But this is my brother. I love him. This is not an excuse. I'm just keeping it real. I know you're gonna keep it real. And, you know, and like Poppy said, Poppy had the mixed emotions. We still have the mixed emotions. And I saw, you know, a clip of, you know, his little interview tonight, and I could see that guilt is just eating at him. I could see that the guilt is eating at him. You know, it's just, you know, like you said, I mean, why didn't he come to you? Why Fox News? Why not come to Sinetta and Black TV? Why not, you know, be president on Star? You know, when he did the interview with Ed Lover,
because he felt like, okay, you gonna go to these internet, these YouTube niggas. I'm gonna do you one bigger. I'm gonna go to Fox.
He would have told the truth then. Lord Sharif would have never did no interview. But back to what I was saying about the 2000, with the young boys in the apartment. The young boys was always in the apartment. I stand on that. And like I said, I want to say for the listening audience, I believed Poppy and still do believe Poppy. So when I said the 100 boys, some of them did their little.
He said he believed Poppy, right? But he said the young boys that was in his house were 18 to 21. So he believes Poppy was fucking the nigga, but he was 18 to 21. That's basically what he's saying. He's saying he believed Poppy when he said that him and Bam was doing stuff, but the age don't match up because he's saying all the young boys that was in his house were 18 to 21. So, I mean, the man's just gay. You outed the nigga sexuality, but you threw him under the bus, trying to call him a pedophile because you didn't want to out your own sexuality. That's basically what he did. How can I get back at this nigga without making myself look gay? Oh, I got it. I'm gonna say he heard B Stinger's story. Oh wait, let me take B Stinger's story and say he molested. And then he took Half Pint's story about him peeing, coming in the bathroom with him. He took Half Pint's story, and then he took the Good Times story, whatever that shit was called.
Editing, because I said it, I'm backing what Poppy and Ron Savage, the B Stinger, said. They edited that, And but I'm saying it to you because I know you're gonna keep it real. I pointed out to him in that interview that yes, I believe 1,000% what B Stinger, Ron Savage said, and what Poppy said, and that's based on what I've experienced throughout the years of seeing the young boys. When I said I went with him to certain locations.
See, he said seeing the young boys, but let's not forget what age he said the young boys were, 18 to 21. So he still doesn't mention seeing Poppy in his house, though. He says he believes him, but he still didn't mention ever seeing him. But he did say he did see young boys in the house, but they were all 18 to 21. So Poppy was in that house with the other young boys. He was 18 to 21.
When he did shows and DJing events, he had the boys that was in the room with him, the late teens to 21, and maybe some older than that. When they went in the room with him,
18 to 21.
These were those that carried his crates. And when they were in that room, I didn't say I saw anything inside the room. Did I have suspicions of something? It's possible, but we had no proof. Like I told Stark, I didn't have proof until '99.
It doesn't matter. They was of age. What could he have done? Those boys were of age. Poppy was of age. B Stinger was of age. Well, B Stinger said he had a fake ID. I don't know what the fuck his story is anymore.
When I walked in the room with him, with another adult, who it was very obvious who I was talking about because I didn't, I put it out there with Stark, the other person, and they was in there jerking off to a porno. The other individual, an adult, was laying on the floor with his penis in his hand. That is the first time I saw something. And this other person is a so-called Muslim. This other person is still backing him up to this day. I'm sure you know the person, and it's very.
He took that nigga story about jerking off. Now I know where he heard the shit from.
Very unfortunate because this person was like a brother to me.
Now, he said, now where have you heard this jerking off story from? So, Hassan took part of what he saw and said that oh my God, now I know where he got the shit from. This is exactly what Hassan said word for word. You notice that every story that somebody else got of Bambaataa, Hassan has the same story word for word. I don't think that's a coincidence. Bee Stinger, he thighed me. Half pint. Oh, he comes in the bathroom while I'm peeing. The Good Times episode. And now him. That's 4 different stories he didn't piece together. That's crazy. That's crazy.
There's other individuals, that's a Muslim,
right.
like Muhammad. I'm gonna name a few names. Like I said, I'm not recanting anything. They know they know who they are. They know who they are. That's covering up, and it's very, very unfortunate.
You better be careful, little buddy.